Now on 4, everything in the garden is lovely, especially in Grenada.
Miles north of Trinidad, at the foot of the Windward Islands chain, lies Grenada, famous not only for the beauty of its harbour town St George's, but also for its gardens. The locals say drop a seed anywhere on the island and it will burst into bloom. The soil here is really fertile, and that produces something that's exported all over the world and gives Grenada its nickname, the Spice Island. The interior of Grenada is home to lush plantations growing cloves, cinnamon and the most important crop of all, nutmegs. Most of the world's supply comes from here. The reason they grow so well is the rich volcanic soil, which also makes it a great place to garden. Because it's a small island, there's a real sense of community of gardeners here, exchanging plants and exploring new ideas. Everywhere I go in the Caribbean, I keep hearing the same name, John Chiswick. I go to someone's garden and they say, I got this plant from John Chiswick. Go to somebody else's garden and they say, have you been to see John Chiswick yet? He's got a wonderful nursery. And yet somebody else might say to me, oh, I'm looking for a really good plant, an interesting variety. I'm going to go and see John Chiswick to get it. So I think I finally tracked down the legendary man himself here at his home at St Rose. John Chiswick is a man who's always known what he wants. At home in Berkshire at the age of 7, he announced he wanted to live in the tropics. While teaching art in Guyana, he decided he wanted to concentrate on his increasing collection of plants. He came to Grenada, took one look and knew this was the place to create his plant nursery and garden.
This is what I look at when I get up in the morning.
Incredible.
I open the window and look out here.
Yeah. What a sight. There's just so many really unusual varieties of plants here, all mingling together. It's just so exciting.
I came here in 1978 and I've been building it up ever since. It was just a sort of swamp covered in wild Diefenbach here.
Really? You've got some absolutely magnificent palms growing here.
Well, I've been collecting palms for 30 years now.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite?
Well, I think my favourite is probably Areca vestiaria. Would you like to come and have a look at it?
Love to. Well, that's a fantastic palm, isn't it?
Yes, that's from the Celebes.
And where are the Celebes?
The Celebes are near the Philippines.
Right.
And it's now called Sulawesi anyway. And I love the orange crown shafts that contrast with the red fruits.
It's got really good character, hasn't it?
Yes, it certainly has.
Yeah.
It's an outstanding palm.
And how old is that particular specimen?
Oh, probably about 15 years, as far as I can remember. I planted it from a seed which I got from Dominica.
John's plants are grown from seeds collected all over the world, but some things in his garden are from much closer to home. I must ask you about this mulch on the path. What is it?
It's nutmeg shells.
Really?
Yes.
Goodness, they are, aren't they? And
They're
you can
wonderful.
smell them.
Yes.
Because the air is really spicy.
Yeah, they smell beautiful, don't they?
Yes. I wish I could get hold of some of that for my garden, but the chances of that are fairly slim.
Yes.
Now tell me about that wonderful plant there. I think I recognise it as an alamander, but I've never seen that shade before.
You're quite right. It's an Alamander cathartica, but it's a new colour. They're calling it cream, but that doesn't describe it really. It's a very delicate colour, isn't it?
Now I can smell a delicious fragrance in the air.
It's this thing here, the Camoensia maxima, which is the largest leguminous flower in the world. And it comes from West Africa. It gives this lovely scent of gardenias.
And the other plant that's catching my eye is this, which is so pretty.
Yes, Homescoldia tetensis.
So which family would that be in?
Verbenaceae.
Right, same family as verbenas. And it's a relative of a thing called the Mexican hat, is it?
It is, in fact, Chinese hat.
Chinese hat, not Mexican hat, Chinese hat.
Yes, because we have the other Chinese hat there.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yes.
Which one is that then?
That's the Chartreuse version, which is another species.
I quite like green flowers. They're rather nice, aren't
They
they?
are,
Especially
they're
when you've got a
lovely.
lot of colours. You know,
Yes.
so really you need the leaves and the
Yes.
green to really set them off. Now this is a weird looking thing. Those seed pods look like something from outer space or perhaps a shower head.
Yes, that's a very good description. It's Nelumbium nucifera, and that is the lotus lily. And this particular variety is a very special hybrid called Mrs. Perry Slocum. It was hybridized in the United States.
Yes.
The leaves, of course, are used as dinner plates at Hindu weddings.
Are they?
Yes, everybody has a leaf in their hand, and then they put the curry in and you eat it with your hands.
And we can't not talk about these huge things here, can we?
No.
I mean, we grow cordyliners as houseplants at home, but you know they're sort of much more on a much more
Yes.
modest scale.
Yes, yes. This is a lovely variety from Hawaii. It's called peterbuck.
What's really caught my eye is that intense blue flower there.
Yes, it's very intense, isn't it? It's a lovely welcome colour in the garden. And it's Otacanthus caeruleus.
Never heard of it or seen it before.
No, it's fairly new to me too. It's from Brazil.
Probably a bit too tropical for us to grow outdoors in the
I
summer.
understand it can take it much cooler than
Can
here.
it?
Yes.
Oh, might be worth a try.
Yes. I wanted to live a life surrounded by the things I love. Very sensual things like sweet-smelling flowers. And this, for me, is just the way to live. It's a whole way of life. I live for plants.
Everyone in Grenada seems to love growing plants. They may not all have large gardens, but what they lack in manicured lawns and formal borders, they more than make up for with pot plants and hanging baskets. As all the island's gardeners seem to know each other and there's a lot of swapping of cuttings, John Krisick suggested that I call in on Mavis Noel in a rural hamlet called Holy Innocent. Mavis is well known locally for her tiny garden overflowing with pot plants. Hello, Mavis. Hello. How are you?
Not too bad at all.
Good. Nice to see you.
I too.
And your beautiful garden.
Oh, yes.
Look at
Oh,
this.
yes.
It's wonderful.
Ever since I was a little girl, I love flowers. So I continue planting, and right now I'm doing more and better. I use pots, as you see, plastic bags and containers.
I see
You
you've
name
got,
it.
what's that? You've got your
Tire.
plumbago tyres.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, to me, of course, this is like patio planting with house plants, because
Yeah.
I would have to keep them all indoors.
Yes, well,
What do you call this one?
angel.
Angel plant. I call it angel wings.
Wings,
Yeah.
yes.
Isn't it beautiful? Do these die down for you
Yes,
for a while?
yes, it died down for a while and then it's
Yes.
come up again.
That's right. They usually
Yeah.
die down for our winter and come up
Yes.
in the spring.
Right,
And you've got it growing in here with an asparagus.
Oh,
I
yes.
like the way you've got several things in one
right,
pot.
right.
And Diefenbachers as well, dumb cane. And this is so pretty.
Oh, yes.
I think it's a type of Episcia.
Yeah.
Everything just grows so easily, doesn't it?
So you like growing flowers too?
I do indeed, yes. I've got a
Oh.
garden packed full of flowers, and
Yes.
all this sort of stuff is living in the
Right,
house
right,
and
right.
in my greenhouse.
True, true.
Yeah. How do you go about potting your plants? How do you set them up in the first place?
Well, in the first place, you have your dirt.
Yeah.
You get some pen manure.
What's pen manure?
This is cow manure when I say pen manure.
It's a bit different to going down to the garden centre for a bag of potting compost, isn't it?
But sometimes you don't have the money. It's go a long way.
Sometimes better when you make your own.
You put it like this.
Yeah.
If you want to put 3 different pieces, you put it.
Now, we would have to get them rooted first, really, if we were doing this for indoor work.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have to get the little cuttings rooted in small pots
Yes.
first and then
See?
pop them in there. And
So
that's
it's
it.
right away.
It's as easy as
Put
that,
a
is
little
it?
water. Look
Yeah.
at how it pots.
Yes, yeah, you've got one going over there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to put different colours together because they all grow up like one plant, don't they?
Yes.
I've seen this elsewhere in the garden where you
Right.
put two very different crotons together.
Right here, right
yeah, and
here.
they make a lovely show. They
Oh yes,
interweave.
everybody admire it.
Another wonderful thing about Mavis's garden is her hedge.
Yeah.
Mavis, when did you plant this?
A few years back, you know, but you just
Yeah.
have to keep it.
Trimmed up.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And you've got all sorts in here. There's a melastome, crotons, a policius, pseudoranthemum reticulatum, a
Yes.
plant that we sometimes grow as a greenhouse plant or a conservatory plant at home.
Mix in them.
You like the mixture, yes. And this is called reticulata because that means netted.
Right.
And the leaf is beautifully netted,
Yes.
isn't it? And then, there's all sorts of other things in here, making a gorgeous mixture. There's a fine leaf here, and even jatropha.
Oh yes.
That's a lovely flower, isn't it? And I
Yes.
see you've let that go up to flower.
True.
Yeah, I think it's a species called an integerrima. I can't say it. Integerima. Yes. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed my visit. Thank you
Yes.
so much for showing me your garden.
Yeah. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
coming and come again.
Here in Grenada, more than any other island, I found a real commitment to the future of gardening. This is the Anglican High School for Girls, St George's.
Hello girls. This morning I want to talk to you a bit about what we've done already.
Dawn Fletcher is talking to a class of 13-year-olds about gardening. After many years working on education projects throughout the world, Dawn retired to her native Grenada.
Now I have this plot of land.
A woman of enormous energy, she now campaigns tirelessly to encourage an appreciation of horticulture among the island's young people.
What plants would I use? Bernicia?
There are three categories, the simple, the white, and the hybrid.
Okay. What are the ingredients that you put to make a proper mulch? Abigail?
The ingredients to mix the proper mulch are the baggers from cane, pen manure, and the shaving from furnitures.
She left out one. Which one was that? Sandra?
Poultry manure.
That's right.
Dawn not only applies her philosophy in the classroom, she invited me to her own garden to see her collection of bougainvilleas and to meet the team of gardeners she has been training.
I've worked for all my life in education of some kind. And when I retired from these desk jobs, I wanted to do something that could put together in a very practical way some of what I learned. And I felt it was very important to teach them how to be independent and self-reliant and how to be able to work at anything.
Well, you can't come to this garden and not notice the bougainvillea because it is everywhere and it's absolutely superb.
And they really do very well here. You know, they're easy to manage. They're plants that need absolutely no water during the dry season. And in the rainy season, you let them drink as much as you want, cut them back, nurture them, and then you get this kind of performance in the dry season. And of course, they're the national flower. So anybody who could grow them should grow them.
Oh, there are so many different varieties here. Do you know the names of them all?
Not all of them. Some I remember, but most times I find that they tell their own message. For instance, near to you there, that's the Singapore pink.
Yes.
And then you have the Singapore mauve just near to it, which
That
makes
one
a
there.
lovely combination. And then, of course, Miss Manila, which everybody loves, and I'm sure you've seen it all over Grenada.
That's my favourite. It's such a glowing colour, isn't it? You never
it
grow that
is.
at home. And again, it's very popular. Well, only in greenhouses and conservatories. And sometimes indoors.
Yes.
A lot of them are variegated.
Yes, we have about 8 or 10 variegated leaf bougainvilleas. Some are white and green and some are yellow and green.
And look at this.
This is an exquisite bougainvillea. The sepals are supposed to be half white and half pink, but it never happened in Grenada. You'll notice this all over the place, and we get these beautiful clusters of pink and clusters of white, but it's one bush.
And you can see the little flower peeking out of the
That's
centre.
right, and it's the bract that has the white and the pink, right? And the flower, all the flowers of bougainvilleas are white. And then here, of course, is my dream. I call it luscious, because I think it just feels so luscious. It looks luscious, and it grows so beautifully. You know?
They're all at their peak, aren't they?
They
They
are.
could not look better.
They
It must be
couldn't
the
look
best
better.
time of year for them.
Definitely.
This is absolutely fantastic. Do all bougainvilleas climb trees as happily as this?
No, I'm afraid not. This one is a special climber called Madagascar, and it just loves more space to do its thing. It's gone right up to the top of this golden apple tree, and now it's tumbling down.
Oh, it's beautiful, it really is. Dawn's gardeners have all developed their own specialities, and Lincoln, the head gardener, is an expert in propagation. Hello, Lincoln. I gather you're chief propagator.
Yeah.
How do you take your bougainvillea cuttings then?
Well, we start by getting the nice medium pieces, you know, like hard enough and not too soft, we should say, you know, and then we start by cutting it off at the bottom. Take the thorns off, right through.
So you get a nice
Cut it
clean stem.
That's right. And then you cut the top of it in a slanting position, which gives you a chance for the water not to settle on top, so it wouldn't go down inside it to rotten.
And it also tells you which is the top and which is the bottom.
Which is the bottom of it also, okay? And then we start by taking off this little skin underneath here, which the roots will come underneath from. And then after finishing that, you get the rooting powder. Put your finger down inside the soil so you wouldn't rub off the rooting powder when you send it down, and you send it down inside it and bring it back up.
Brilliant. Now that looks like a jolly interesting mix there to me.
Yeah, that's our special mix, we call it sometimes, you know, because we invent doing this by putting some soil, some waste from the river. When the river come down, we gather the riverbed, call it the riverbed, we gather that, which is very good for the bougainvillea. And we use our shaven dust from the sawmill, our cow pole manure, and we combine all of them together, mix them properly, and we keep them there for 2.5 to 3 weeks.
So it only takes 2.5 to 3 weeks for them to root?
For them to root enough to put them into this size pot.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a really good method for us to try at home. If you're pruning your bougainvillea, which you should be doing around February time, try taking some cuttings like that, because they've obviously evolved the best method. We'd probably need a propagating case, but those hardwood cuttings are the best type, I think.
Yep.
And you'd probably be thinking about a 50% success rate at home. What do you do here?
We get about at least 90–95% here, most times. Yeah.
I found it hard to drag myself away from Lincoln and his cuttings, but John Chiswick had offered to drive me up to the Grande Tang National Park. A lot of Grenada's interior is mountainous, remote and uninhabited, and so there are large areas of rainforest that remain untouched. Up at Grande Tang, there's a 13-acre lake in the crater of an extinct volcano. According to local legend, it is bottomless. Surrounding the lake is a fascinating mixture of bamboo, treetop ferns and creeping vines, with hiking trails that lead you deep into the forest, where some of the plants are surprisingly familiar. Oh, now I recognise these little plants down here. This is Selaginella, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
It's all over the forest floor.
It's a fairly primitive plant, like a cross, sort of halfway between a moss and a fern, really, isn't it?
Right.
Yes,
It's a fern
and
ally.
probably not this one, but you can grow Selaginellas as houseplants fairly easily. You can find several different species in garden centres, and it's interesting to see it thriving here. Oh, and looking up, look, what are those there?
Oh, Anthurium hookeri.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it's living epiphytically, quite above the ground. So its roots are just depending on air and water.
And it doesn't take anything from the tree, does it? Because epiphytes are not parasites. They're
No.
not dragging anything out of the tree like, say, mistletoe would be. They're just using it as a perch, aren't
Actually,
they?
yes, they're just resting on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, lots of orchids and ferns are epiphytes as well, aren't they?
Yes. Can you see the marked gravia running up the trees?
Yes, it's like a little green snake, isn't it?
Yes. That's so much like Ficus repens, isn't it?
Very interesting plant. Fascinating to come inside the forest. So to begin with, it just looks like a mass of ferns and palms and green things, and then you begin to get your eye in and see different plants and plants that you can relate to plants that perhaps you've grown at home. It really is very, very interesting. The natural rainforest provided the inspiration for my final port of call in the hills above St George's. Jean and Robin Rennick's garden, Sunnyside, is open to visitors and is well known for its peace and tranquility.
There's a part of the garden that I call a mini rainforest. It goes down the hill. It's reasonably steep, but we've put nutmeg paths through it, and we have some beautiful old trees. We have heliconias down there, plants that look after themselves.
The Rennicks are both native Grenadians and have lived in the house since the 1970s, although the property has been in Robin's family for generations. Whilst he has quite a conservative approach to gardening, Jean likes to experiment. I gather you're not shy about moving plants around when the fancy takes you.
No, that's part of the pleasure of a garden, being able to move things around. I really like that.
What's all this about planting according to the moon?
Oh, okay. Mainly what I do is I will plant flowers that will flower above the ground when the moon is on the rise, and tubers that will develop under the ground when the moon is on the wane. One thing you should never do is anything on the night of the full moon, on the day of the full moon.
Just leave everything well alone.
Leave everything the way it is.
I've never looked into it myself, but I might start. You know, I think all gardens should have a pond, and yours is very fine.
I really have enjoyed building it. Actually, it's only been there for about a year.
It's very exciting for me to see that you're growing lots of tropical aquatic plants that we could only grow in indoor pools, really.
Some of them were brought for me by someone from Connecticut. So it seems that they can do here as well.
Well, the water hyacinth we can grow outdoors just in the summer, but it rarely flowers as well as yours are, if at all. And if we want to overwinter it, we have to lift them and put them into an indoor tank for the winter, or pot them up and grow them indoors for the winter in very sort of wet soil.
Right.
And quite often they die off, so it's not always very successful.
I do it in the garden
I have
instead.
the pleasure of offering you ladies a genuine Grenada rum punch.
That sounds absolutely perfect.
1 measure of lime juice
Yeah.
or other citrus juice, 2 measures of sugar, 3 measures of good rum, topped up with 4 measures of water. And of course the Grenada nutmeg, grated onto the top.
Good and fresh.
Good and fresh. Grated, not shaken.
Well, I've been looking forward to trying this, so here we go.
Good.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, next Friday at 8 o'clock, Anne is in the gardens of Barbados. And for more information on Gardens of the Caribbean, see Fortel, page 315.